Hi everyone, hope you're all okay. I'm doing some videos. I've been reading this book called Goodbye to Guilt. I bought this book back in 2016, late 2016, when I went to Glastonbury after a breakup of a relationship. I went on the trip. I'd bought my van and we decided that we were going to go on I'd actually had this trip booked, but my kids had bought me a trip and staying in a hotel near Glastonbury. So me and my friend went on this trip down to Glastonbury, and obviously I was not in a very good place because I'd had a breakup of a relationship, and also I was still feeling guilt, believe it or not, from leaving my husband, which I'd left my husband in 2008. This was 2016, but there was still a lot of guilt there for me. So I bought this book, but I actually never read it. Now, recently, I have actually done some work, or something had happened, and I had it highlighted to me that I might actually still have a little bit of guilt inside me. So I thought, right, I'm going to start reading. I want to read this book because it's been stuck on my bookshelf for a while. It's time to read it. So whilst I've been reading it, I'm thinking, this needs to be shared with people. So I would recommend it if you want something to read. It's a lot to do with God, and it talks a lot about God. But to me, you can put however you feel about that onto it. Does that make sense? So it's about bringing that love to you and making it more personal towards yourself, rather than taking in, if you don't want to take the spiritual side part on it. But it's just about giving yourself that love. Okay. So I'm going to go into it. So the purpose of this book is to show how relationships can be healed through forgiveness by saying goodbye to guilt and letting go of fear and blame that keeps us separate from each other. Okay. So guilt is a feeling of self-condemnation that we experience after we do something we think is wrong. Now, when we actually have that guilt and we're feeling that something is wrong, this is where our belief systems are kicking in, that we've been programmed to actually think that things are wrong, if that makes sense. So that is where the guilt is coming from. As we're talking about it and reading this is what's happened. This is what will be happening. You've got beliefs set in you, which are led to, so it makes you feel that guilt. Okay. The fear can be our thoughts of as our feelings of anxiety or agitation and when we perceive danger. So the fear part of it is where we actually perceive that something is going to happen and that it's going to be a danger, a part of it in our life. In the book, guilt and fear are closely related. Okay, so forgiveness means letting go of the past, and unless we forgive others for what we think they have done to us, we will be unable to forgive ourselves and experience peace of mind. So one of my things is, and I have come across this recently, is that actually nobody can make you feel anything. It's actually yourself who makes you feel that way. It's because it's your thoughts what are making you feel that way. Okay, so when you say that such a body's done this to me and they make me and I feel like this, it's actually yourself what's making you feel like that. So it's about working on that and being able to deal with it and acknowledge it that way. So unless we forgive others for what we think they have done to us, we think that they have done to us, we will be unable to forgive ourselves and experience peace of mind. I've got notes here, obviously, because I'm not going to be able to remember it all off the top of my head. So Gerald talks about him having expectations, right? So again, this is something I can relate to very much. Is he talks about having expectations that he wanted other people to change so that he was fulfilled in his life. Okay, now obviously during my lives and things like that, I've explained that the only person we can change, and on my post what we put is that the only person what we can change is ourselves. Okay, so what he realised was that it was only his mind he needed to change to heal the relationships. So once he actually realised that he could change his mind and the way he looked at things, that then he could actually heal the relationships. Now I'm going to read a paragraph out of the book, so that just to see if you can actually relate to this. As I began to look at the unhealed relationships in my life and to explore why they did not work, the word seeker came in mind. I believe that most of us can be described as seekers. In my late 50s, as I look back, I realised that my life has been one of an intense seeking without knowing what it was I was looking for. At times I sought after such things as health, self-esteem, money, material possessions, prestige and social status, professional recognition, security for the future, and friends I could trust and love. Despite my success in pursuing most of these, I never experienced the happiness they were supposed to bring. Now, I can actually relate to that. I don't know about you guys, because I know that when I was married and when I was working in this GP surgery, I can remember that we had our first marital home, and I had this urge that I wanted to move, house, and that if I moved house, I would feel better, I would be happier, I would feel happier. We moved house. We actually did move house. We went from a terraced into a semi-detached house, but those feelings were still there. Those feelings of emptiness were still there, even though I'd got a house and I believed that house would bring me happiness. Them feelings were actually still there. So it didn't actually fill that void, and this is what we actually need to take. With that in mind, and this is what he says, it had never occurred to him that he had the wrong goal. What he was looking for happiness, he was looking for it from the outside, and he was actually looking in the wrong place. He should have actually just been looking inside. The love and the joy and the peace he was looking for was already within him. And he did not realise he had become afraid of love. And he goes on to say, we can only experience two emotions: love, which is our natural inheritance, or fear and guilt. The fear and guilt are negative twins, and they are what our mind invents. Now, our mind is our ego, okay? So it's our ego. And so fear and guilt cannot exist without each other, and they can reinforce each other as well, okay? So the key concepts of this book are that when we let go of guilt and fear through forgiveness, when we have peace of mind as our only goal, and when we learn to listen to our inner voice as a guide for directions and decision making. He contrasts himself since he became more spiritual and who he was. He gets asked about this, about how he sees himself now and what's the difference between what he was, okay? And he says it's not easy to go without reinforcing the distortions of his ego. He says he still gets angry, depressed and feels hopelessness, but he is able to let go of them. He does not see the value of suffering and pain. The greatest obstacle challenge is he's got a personality self, that's his ego. Okay, and that's the chimp part of the brain, which I constantly say we need to learn to be able to control it when we know that it's actually it's being detrimental to our well-being. Okay, so which wants us to wants to control us and predict us, and it wants to be in charge. So it wants to control where we're going, and it wants to control other people. This is what he sees peace as its enemy. So the ego sees peace as its enemy, and it's conflict, and it's constantly conflicting with its friend. So the ego's a bit like a TV series, horror movies, okay? So which we have got all gained over time with different things and our beliefs, but our ego tries to make us believe these are all new, okay? But they're actually in our subconscious part of our brain, where they're automatically coming out when we're facing a new situation, or we're facing a situation which has probably gone on over and over and over, but we are led to believe that it's a new one what we're actually dealing with. So healing this is about learning how to stop those TV and horror shows, okay? So I'm going to finish this video today, and it is, like I said, it's going to be short videos. Finishing it today, we're going to remember the relationship, and we're going to become healed if we forgive and ease all the guilt and fear. Now, I hope you like that video. I hope it resonates with you. I am going to be just going through this book and discussing the different chapters, and there are lessons at the back of it, so we will go through the different lessons over the time. But it's called Goodbye to Guilt, and it's by Gerald G Jampolsky. I look forward to speaking to you all soon, and take care, guys.